From my most of the students in my university from countryside, and even their Soviet students, they have a very poor academic background, and so they know, for example, they know little about the English cultures and certain read original English words, and so that they write with Chinese thinking styles such as the following. For instance, the first you ask me, me ask who. Now the second, give me some policies just now I mentioned. Yeah, means teach somebody listen, and then yeah, of course, according to the teaching materials, there are tutors. For instance, the first step, writing principles, the teacher really focuses on format of the title, the document design, the structure, and even the logical development of that. And then what's choosing? Here, what's choosing really the students list some sentences from the little works. And meanwhile, the teacher wants thinks that this can spur the students to read a lot of original English works to arouse students in intense scholarly interest. And then sentence making in case of run-on sentences or sentence fragments. So the instructor focuses on revising all correcting comma errors. Now, for example, the instructor asks the students to write the changes of Mianyang, my hometown, after the great earthquake in 2008. Now, write the changes. Now, the student write the sentences, the expressions like this: my hometown had big change, built many houses, the roads are wide. Now, maybe we can understand this sentence. The instructor revises it like the following: great changes, or blah 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 like this. So the revise.
So the instructor revises?
Yeah, revise.
Oh, wow.
We think the teacher thinks that the first expression is Chinese thinking style. Yeah, more authentic.
Yeah, this is fast. That you're getting a lot of wows from us, because that kind of intervention would be probably.
Now, do you think the first expression can be accepted? The first one. Can be accepted? The hometown had.
Yes, it's just to me, it is what I would call accented, but acceptable. I understand it because it is communicated to me, but I am a reader who is generous. And so I would argue that we need to change readers' perceptions about correctness and proper, because that's an imposition of a particular understanding of English that doesn't allow for flexibility in expression. So for me, I could say yes, but I would also give several perhaps models. I might speak models, but writing models is very, very, I'm stunned to hear that for as many students as you have, you go through and write.
That's a lot of work.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. No, my question is, how do you go about, I would want to give the student, if I were going to work at that at all, I would try to want to figure out with the student how to get them to revise it. So if I wrote that, I would never write that for them. You know, because for me, what does that do? I know I can write probably English much better, or at a certain level that some of my students might not be able to. So it doesn't help me to do that, and it doesn't help them. I could see doing a lesson on 4 examples, like where I gave them different kinds of sentences from their own writing and had them generate examples and show them how to use a 4 example as a wonderful tool to sort of extend a piece of writing.
The model.
In fact, we use it a lot. We talk a lot sometimes when you have trouble expressing an idea. The affordances of an example are wonderful, because if you can't quite say the abstract idea, if you can say, for example, and you have a good example, that will show your reader better than whatever type of phrasing you have. See, so I would probably focus on that as just that tool alone.
You give it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Please.
Sorry, I approach this with parallel structures. talking about formation of the
Ah,
student,
Right.
and then having them see now this is how I would actually frame a parallel
Yeah,
structure.
yeah, the teacher think that maybe the second expression can, yeah, better than the first
Yeah,
one.
but we can model this, but still, the students need to do their own work in
Yes.
terms of rephrasing.
Yes.
And they need to practice. I mean, that's how they learn, is practicing lots and lots and lots of this. So,
Throwing this into the water.
Or, or even if you give the first example in class and then get them, divide them into small groups and get them to revise it in the best way possible, and they're probably gonna come up with something not as good as your example, but something similar, right? And then they write those on the board, and then maybe even what we do is create a class revision based on all the examples. So they've been doing it themselves, and they each have something important to bring to the conversation. Because they can all do that last sentence, but they might have to do it collectively rather
Yes,
than
right.
individually.
Which would be fun. I want to get back to this point that you were making, though, because this teaches us so much about the learners in our classrooms that it was so insightful about the expectations they're bringing for our teachers then. If this is how they are learning in Chinese classrooms, what we just learned is, oh, the expectations that they have for us are
we're going to
we're
failing.
We're failing miserably.
We're doing badly.
No wonder you're so frustrated with us, right? Because it really explains quite a bit about how the teacher is perceived and how it is that students' role in learning is perceived. And I think this was a very good moment for many of us to sit back and say, oh, thank you.